Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Baptized and Clueless. I am your host, Yusuf, and I'm here with my co-host, Wesley. Wesley, what is going on with you today, my brother?
Yeah, Yusuf, I'm doing all right, man. Just chilling right now.
I love to hear it. Love to hear it. We are honored to actually have our first guest return to this show. It's amazing to be able
Yeah,
to call him our guest, our friend, our brother, who's been through a lot and has been so vulnerable and great and exposing himself to God and letting us be a part of it. You know him as a filmmaker, as a music producer. His film's actually going through the circuit right now on tour
hmm
as we
yep.
speak. So welcome everyone once again. Toroes to the house. What's going on,
Woo, woo,
Toroes?
woo, woo,
What's
woo,
good, brothers? What's good?
Awesome, awesome. So
Finally
glad you're
back.
here, man.
woo.
So last time we spoke to you, you were giving us your testimony as far
Mhm.
as how you found God in your walks with Him. And I know it's been like 6 months, I guess. Yeah, it's about 6 months. And, we want to hear an update because I know we've been speaking to you on the side, but our audience doesn't get a chance to hear all the great things that's going on in your life and the challenges you had as well. So, by
Mhm.
all means, the floor is yours, sir. What has been new with you and walking with God?
Man, just life going life, but God is still gonna be God at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So,
hmm
right now, my film is doing well, let me take it back a little bit. Like
Mhm.
I was literally sitting in the seat that Ryan Coogler was sitting in, of his life.
Mhm.
Wow.
Of,
Wow.
sinners, you feel me? Only God can do that, like, if
Yeah.
you would've told
Yeah.
me that I would be sitting in the same rooms as, like, Christopher Nolan, Ryan Coogler, to name a few,
Yeah.
color
Wow.
correct my film, like, I would have, told you that you was a liar. At the time, when my faith was little, I would
yeah.
have been like, yeah, I would have been like, "Man, you're lying." But, I know what God can do, and anything that God has ordained, anything that he says is gonna happen will happen. Doors have been opening for me because of God, and I will always say that. It's not me, it's God, because I feel like I'm in purpose for what he wants me to do. Um, so
hmm
Amen.
yeah, my film was color corrected at, this place called Photochem. Shout out to
Mhm.
them. And I got to work with the same colorists that colored Sinners. And, I got to, really see my film come to life visually,
By professionals.
by professionals
Yeah.
who
hmm
also was able to check out my film and my testimony, and I was able to
Wow.
speak with
Look
them
at that.
about,
Wow.
why I created this film.
Mhm.
A quick story, the guy, the director of the, Photocam came to me, he was like, "You told me, like, when like, couple like, a year ago that you would come here and color correct your film here," and I was like, "I ain't believe you a lot of people say that, and you actually did it."
Oh, that's awesome. That
I'm
is so
like,
awesome.
and I'm like, "I told you, man, like, I'm here, like, I'm like, I'm in line, I'm like, I'm
right.
ready,"
Yeah.
So, I was happy to hear that, and I just look back at just how God is just opening these doors for me, and I was just blessed. I mean, sitting in there and, big screens,
Mhm.
like, all this technology and sitting in a theater with nobody but me in there, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In the colorist on this big screen, I just felt like, I looked at I was like, "Dang, God, how did" like, sometimes you just question, like, "Dang, how did this happen?" Like,
This
you
is
know,
just it.
I remember, the person at my last screening told me, he was like, "Bro, your faith got you here." And I was like,
mm
"Yeah."
That's so true.
And so, like, I was treated like I don't know. I was treated like royalty. I can't say it no other way.
Like
Um,
someone who
Yeah.
belonged
Yeah.
there.
like they really took care of me. Whatever I needed, they took care of me. And when I tell you, like, I did a private screening in LA, like just a
Mhm.
private for my close friends to see it, and I got it recorded too. Like, to hear the feedback from my LA friends, to be able to showcase it in a place like that, in an intimate
Mhm.
space, and have these conversations about my story and my testimony, it was a blessing, man. Like, no,
Mhm.
That's amazing.
it was a blessing. And, you know, um, sometimes, like, I just look back and I'm just like, I just thank God for it. I thank
Definitely,
for that
Yeah.
definitely.
opportunity, because after I finished the film, color correcting it, I then took it to Baltimore to, get to showcase it at
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. You
one
started
of
the
the
tour. When was that, by the way?
like, one of the biggest festivals in Baltimore, you know?
That was just recent, right?
Yeah, that was recent.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I took it to Baltimore to screen at one of the I used to go to that festival as a kid, and to be in the festival now showcasing my movie was another blessing,
Yeah.
Mhm.
was another blessing. We seeing my family there again,
Mhm.
seeing people respond to the movie, I know that, I know that it's just God, like, and I was able to stand up on stage and tell people, like, "This wasn't me.
Yeah.
Who told me to
Yeah.
do this?" Like,
Yeah.
I said it. I was like, "Who?" Like, God told me to do this because in my grief, in my pain, I literally heard God's voice. It was a voice like no other, and
Yeah.
I will never forget that moment. I'll never forget that moment God told me to tell my story, because now it's my life's purpose. I feel
Right.
now my testimony is my life's purpose, and it heals people. My little brother stood up in that audience out, and this I almost broke down on stage, but I had to
Mm.
keep composure. He stood up and said, and I have it on video. He said, "Taurus, this film is healing me."
Oh, wow.
Wow. Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll just pause it right there. That's
Listen, God plays masterful chess
Mhm.
at an unlimited level because he brought it back to the same company that you said you're gonna do your coloring for your
Mhm,
film in.
mhm.
I remember we saw it, by the way. We are the first friends that saw your film, so, uh
Yeah.
Hey, man. Exclusive.
but talk about full circle, and you're not even halfway through the journey yet.
No.
Mm.
You get to do the coloring in in that studio itself. You meet directors who are known and who have big budget films out, and they're sitting at your project that God started you with.
Well, I didn't
Mm.
meet the directors. I just sat in the same seat. Let's
You just
clarify.
got to see, well, you sat in the
Mm.
same seats. You did
Yeah.
meet some people on
I
that
met the
have been involved
colorist.
in films though.
Yeah, the colorist that worked on the film. Like, that was the
Yeah,
closest I got.
Okay.
that's
Okay.
where it starts.
Yeah.
And don't
Yeah.
forget, you've done a red carpet.
Oh, yes, yes, sir. Oh, and yeah, I for you
Yeah,
y'all know me more.
yeah. Don't play me. Don't play me, Toros. I know your story. I listen.
You said that at the beginning, like, we know you.
Right? And then right now in the journey to be able to showcase it in Baltimore,
Yeah.
a place that's not foreign to you,
No. No.
like that's just beautiful. And I mean, I know the topics on the importance of testimony, but right now you're just showcasing how God moves. And if we don't tell people about how God moves in our life through things that we don't even know or are not aware of, like people don't believe
Mhm.
he's all that he is.
Yeah. Y
But this is just amazing because we saw your film, was it last summer or summer before?
Ah, I believe it was the summer before.
Summer before we saw it.
Mm.
And we were in awe because we were like, "This
Yep.
is your film?"
Yeah.
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 And I can't imagine how much better the quality of the film looks because to us, it looked great, and we're watching it on our phones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And now it's getting the treatment that it's getting now. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's
you
an
were still,
amazing story.
and at the time we were looking at it, you were still telling us like, "Oh, you still got to do this. You still got to do this to
Yeah.
it."
To us, we're like, "This film is done. It's good. Popcorn in mouth, everything," right?
There's a reason why they said it's a miracle in a film, 'cause it is. it takes a lot of hands being put on it with
Mhm.
people who have
Mm.
different experiences in life. It's molding it into something, you know, that's why film we always say like film is collaborative because once you
Mhm.
yeah, I wrote the script, you know, with my partner or a producer, and it you then hand it off to other people, to the actors who have their own experience,
Right.
who have
Mm.
their own
Yeah.
testimonies, you know, to add their flavor into it. And then you hand it off to the editor, which I can't, you know, like I wouldn't recommend this, but like I did the editing myself. But um
Mhm.
um
All by
any
faith.
filmmakers out there, you know,
Mhm.
pass it on to an editor. But you know,
It's a
but,
lot of
you know,
work.
like, I wanted to save I had to save coins where I had to save coins,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
indie filmmakers stand up, you know?
Yeah.
So, but you then hand it to an editor to put their experiences and techniques. You then add it to the composer with their testimony and how they feel about it, you
Mhm.
know, and how they can add to it, and colorists and audio engineers and so on and so on. And
Mm.
that way when you get the finished product, everybody has a hand for it because you wrote the story, but it's not yours anymore. You
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
it when God sends you, it's not for you. You know, like yeah, He gave you the motivation. You're involved in it, but it's about you, but it's not about you. You know, and that's
Mhm.
what I noticed when I made this film, when I was making this film, is that dang, my film brought all these people together. You know,
Yeah.
all these
Yeah.
people
Mhm.
together who cried, who felt something, who benefited from it, you know, who was able to, you know, the kids in my film, they had their first, this was their first feature film role, you know,
Oh, they did
Wow.
first,
good.
like
Yeah.
like their first. And I remember my casting director, Thea Washington, she fought for the kid that came into my film. She was like, "This is your guy. I mean, this is your boy." And I was like, you know, maybe we should we look at other people to just get a hope around that?" And she's like, "No, he is." And then when I met the kid, I'm like, "This kid has a heart of gold." Yes,
Mm.
Mm.
you know, like he was the right person. The girl in the film, the little baby, she was so precious. You know, like
Yeah.
you know how like she just got God given talent. Jade, you know, she just has God given talent. She came out confident and really, I still have her audition video. She just came out swinging. You know, I'm like, I ain't had no experience. How do you know? But I mean, she was just so precious in the film. And Donnell is just, you know, the boy. He just
Yeah.
had it. He had it. He had the emotional beats. He came out and he did his thing. And
Yeah.
this is his
It's a
story too. This is Micaiah's story
yeah.
who 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 related to the script, who trusted the vision and everything. This is Milan's story, who played the mother in the film, you know?
Mm.
And behind the scenes, this is, you know, people came up to me saying, "Bro, I really related to this story."
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they got to touch it in their own way because God used everyone to make this vision come. It wasn't just
Exactly.
me. And I want to make that clear. Like, yeah, he gave me the vision, but he also, you know, put other people in my in this film that was able to
Yeah.
touch it and mold it in their own way.
All the right people. Like when he's
Yeah.
involved, how easy he can make things seem.
Yeah. And I
Mhm.
said that prayer too when I was making the film. I was like, God, just send me the right people. You know, like yeah, a lot of people want to be involved, you know,
Mhm.
but where's their heart at? Just send me the right people, you know.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
he
Mhm.
he did that.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. I can only imagine having interviews with all the actors that were involved and where they were at when they heard they got the part. If they've never acted before
Yeah.
and they pulled this off so naturally and seamlessly. I
Yeah.
can only imagine what their testimony is like, because who knows what prayers they had
Oh man,
to get the opportunity to be in this.
they had so many testimonies.
Mm,
The little boy has a testimony. The Micaiah has a testimony.
Right.
just like beyond this world, you know, like that he just related to the film. The little boy related to the film. Darnell
Mhm.
Mhm.
related to the film. And that's all I wanted. They were just the right people, you know? They were the right people for the right time to make this film.
It's how God works through people
Mhm.
Yeah.
in everything.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I could imagine you making a great film as you did and being a person that no one wants to gravitate to.
Yeah.
That God didn't have a calling on because you're just doing it based on a worldly business and vision.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you know, if we didn't know you and you chose to film that time, I thought we were, we got something from Hollywood and we're getting a sneak peek that you got a copy of someone else's film because I would have never thought it was someone that, never mind, I know, but just you're a regular person who has a talent, a skill, and a calling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the end product that we saw was mind blowing. And in everything that you do and everything that you've been through, I see God
Nah.
guiding
Yeah.
you through it. Like I
Yeah.
know you probably, when's the last time you made music? Because I haven't heard you drop any music in a while, but I
Well,
know
I
you're
was
heavy in it.
I'm gonna I want you to play. I wrote a song to my father after the
Mm,
the screening.
mm-hmm,
You know, it's just it's basically saying, "Pops, we did it." You know, like we met, we
Yeah.
they
yeah,
we had a win. We got a win. You know, like
yeah.
and I put it. I'll send it to you again, but I definitely want you to use it in this session. Like if you have it
Will do.
of it, maybe outro, whatever. But
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
because it speaks to my heart about why I started this film. You know, like it all
Mhm.
started because I looked at my father's journey and I felt that his legacy was fading and or that nobody would care or nobody cared that he passed away. Only I did, you know.
Mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm,
called the news station to ask them to do a story about my father, and they told me that they don't do stories like that. And
Mm.
really.
yeah, and it just broke my heart because I'm just like, why? You know, like like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
and he probably meant well, you know, but I just was like, if he doesn't care, like nobody cares, and so like in that grief, during that moment of me just sinking in, feeling like I'm
Mm-hmm,
being sunk in or just feeling like the world doesn't care,
mm-hmm.
God said, "Tell your story, you do it." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah." He's like, he had there's a reason why, I wasn't supposed to like I went to like here's how is a little bit back on my testimony. I went to this school called Digital Harbor. You have
Mm-hmm,
to get selected through a lottery to get into that school. I believe
Mm.
Bill Gates put money into the school. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I heard that was a rumor that Bill Gates put money into the school. But
mm,
Mm.
I felt I was lottery selected to go to that school, me and my older brother, and then when it came to like trades and what we wanted to do in life, I was randomly put into this media class, and I wasn't interested at first. I was like, what is
mm,
this? I don't know what, I'll keep my head down, I would not really pay attention. And then this random day, I just was got some inspiration and went out and produced something. And it changed my perspective. I was like, wow, because when I saw the reactions from people once they saw it, I felt like, dang, there's something here. It felt like a tug towards it, like I was being pulled to this. I was like, this is interesting. I wanted to be a football player. They kicked me out. They kicked me off the team the first
Oh man.
tryout. I did not. If I thought I had the gene for football or the talent, I ain't had.
Yeah.
It was like, nah, bro, you go do something else. You have
He's he
another
saved a lot of hurt.
calling. So I still love football to this day, but
Yeah.
it's beside the point. But I found a calling at Digital Harbor, and I met my mentors there. Like I told my story before how I just like went past this it's called Channel 77. I used to go past the door like every day and I felt something pushing me towards it. And I was like, I'm gonna go in there tomorrow. And I went past, I'm gonna go in there tomorrow. And I was just like,
Mhm.
the day is the day. And it changed my life. So,
Yeah, yeah.
That's
saying
awesome.
that to say like God was calling me from that place.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's been I told my mentor this. I was like, you know, the mentor that worked at the school at the time, like we were having a conversation and I told him, I was like, David, God is speaking all the time, but I don't think we're listening. And he was like,
Right.
you need to write that down. He was like, what
Yeah.
what you say?
Yeah.
You know, I just believe, going back to that moment, I believe that I get like God is there's a reason why Jesus came down and he sat with the stuff
Mhm.
because they're tuned in a certain way that they can hear. Like I just like in the suffering, God is there. You realize that like when you feel like you have nobody, you have somebody. And that's
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, yeah.
That's right. To add to that, like you were saying that nobody cared about your father's story,
Mhm.
and the good thing is that God always cared, and
Mhm.
you cared enough,
Yeah.
and you were obedient enough that when he said to you, "You tell a story," you didn't go into insecurities or anything and say, "No, I can't do it. I don't have the skills," and let it go.
Yeah.
You actually walked through with it. And another point that you made about the schooling, like that's all God's intentionality,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right? And he can use a lottery. He can use what we think is a coincidence.
Mhm.
He can use anything, and he'll cumulate the things that he knows that we need
Mhm.
to go forward and complete his plan. His plan for you was to have faith in him,
Mhm.
walk with him,
Mhm.
bring him on this journey. He can be in the journey with you regardless, but he wants you to want him there.
Yeah.
And then he brings the people around you that have a relationship with him to some degree. I don't know to what degree it could be, but to some degree, because let's face it, I've worked in a lot of places, and to get three good people with good hearts, it's hard. You had a whole film crew, actors, and you've been meeting people who just are doing things that you wouldn't expect. But God already had it ordained for you. Like this is the path you're gonna take. If you should choose it, He's got doors open for you. And even the places that have little puddles, He'll put a bridge over it so you can walk over it, not get feet dirty.
Mhm. Yeah,
So I love His intentionality. God is so consistent.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
Definitely direct your steps.
exactly. And when you look back at it, you there's a trail, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you look back at your life, you be like, "Oh, I see God there. I see God there. How did I make it out of there? Oh,
Yes.
that was God." Like,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
so how did I get here? Oh, that was God. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like he has a reputation of that. And I'm just on it, man.
Mhm.
Whatever life throws at me, I was talking to my therapist the other day. I was like, you know what? Whatever life throws at me, at least I can still talk about my father. Like that
Yeah.
was God. Look. That's what God gave me.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
A story. God gave me that. And now, like, that's what motivates me. That's my why because I look at my father and I look at what he went through. And it just lights a fire in me. Like that day, God lit a holy fire in me. And I didn't care who or what or who cared at that point. I was like, I care.
Yeah.
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 God cares,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna walk, Like that was my motivation. Like I'm gonna walk, man. Like I'm gonna do this. And I didn't know how I was gonna do it. It was at times I was like, oh, like I don't know how, but the fire is still there. But I just remember those times of writing. Like I wasn't the best writer. Like I wasn't the best
Yeah.
writer. I wasn't the best storyteller. I was just me, and
Yeah.
and I had this story that was probably building in me for a long time that needed to come out. And it and at that moment when God put that fire in me, I didn't care. My hands started moving, like and,
Mm.
and I did it, it happened. And
Yeah.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be able, and because I wrote this story, it opened so many other doors, like I worked with my mentor David E. Talbert, who watched the film, and he told me a funny story. A funny story with David Talbot. He was like, "Taurus, this movie better be good because you've been talking about this film for a long time, and it better be good." And by the
Ah.
end of the movie, my mentor looked at me and was like, "Brother, you got something here, And
Yeah.
and I was like, "Thanks, David. I've been telling you." But because like we're in the industry, we have the color of our skin, they expect more from us,
Mm.
we got to do above and beyond. And so, my mentor, he speaks life into me, and he tells me like, "Towards you have to be better, you have to
Yeah.
be way better because you're in an industry where they don't want our stories in there. So
Oh,
Mhm.
man.
get it
Toroes.
together and get this, make sure it's something that, people can feel, and it's at a quality where they believe you can do it,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you have to have confidence in what you're doing. And so he speaks that life into me, and I'm like, "Man, thank God for this man," like,
Mhm.
so those are the doors that open for me, and I'm inspiring, I come from a program, Morgan State University. Like, before I went to Morgan State University, I went to a 7-day Adventist school. Uh they didn't really have any like media programs. It was small, but it was not like Morgan's. And Morgan's is considered a small program, but Morgan's is bigger than where I was, So I was basically at the 7-day Adventist school, going to church, and then doing my studies, So God was there as well. 'Cause I won't say God was there at that 7-day Adventist church. Let me tell you. But
Yeah.
then I decided to go to Morgan State, back home to Morgan State University, and it was the best decision I made because I was able to grow with the program, Swan, and I'm able to inspire the students there, that's there, that they can tell their stories too, and I can bring them along with me, and I can, like Morgan State University students were on my set, they were making the film Witten. The-
Mhm.
I had a
Mm.
student there. Her name is Shoshana, and now she has a grant, and I can help her out with her film, the
Oh,
school
wow.
training program I went through, you know?
That's nice. That's nice.
That's
So,
good.
like I said, it's bigger than me, man. It's bigger than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Toroes, you
Mhm.
made 2 points in what you were just talking about a while ago. And you're always opening up something else from there to speak on. So earlier, you're talking about the fact that this film allows you to always talk about your father, and you get to remember your father in that way, which is really special.
Mhm.
And as you're saying that, I'm thinking to myself, but I notice every time that we get to talk to you and it's regarding your father, you always end up talking about the father as well.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with you about your dad that you never got to talk about God or Christ and how he moves. Like, that's how everything's so intertwined. And I think
Yeah.
he took the opportunity to, of course, let you tell your story, and you end up still telling your story with him as well. And
Yeah.
I think that's just
I don't
amazing.
want people to forget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I don't think they will, man. If they sit on top of you, I don't think they'll forget.
I
I
don't
think they'll see.
and I don't wanna forget.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why when God did things and he did miracles, he told people to remember
Mhm.
in the Bible,
Mhm.
because when you have to remind yourself in order to know he's
Yeah,
there, you
it's
know?
true.
And so, like, for me saying, like, because I have 2 fathers. I have an earthly father who God gave me, my father, and then I have
Mhm.
the the guy upstairs, they call the big man,
That's
Yahweh,
right.
like, you feel me? And he, like, he really brought me out of a place, and he continues to bring me out of these dark places that I
Yeah.
find myself in
Yeah. Yeah.
when when those rough times happen. And so, like, I want to include God in everything I do. Um, because I want to remind myself that George, you didn't just do this. Like God
Mhm.
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Used. And so when I'm speaking on stages, I say that so I won't,
Yep. I
because
watched the last one. I saw it. I was
if
like,
I
"Yep."
went up there and said like I did this, I would be lying. And I
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
yes, I had a part in it, but I heard a voice, and you can call me crazy if you want for people who don't believe, but
Mhm.
hey, there were crazy people in the Bible that people deemed crazy, but
Yeah.
they had the truth, you know?
Yeah.
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 So,
Mhm.
like that's just it. And going back to my father, you know, I know we haven't really dived into that, but I want to, like
Yeah.
I want to dive in my father. Like he was the rock of the family.
Mhm.
Mhm.
My
He
father,
set the example.
he set an example. He wasn't perfect. I want to be authentic as possible. My
Yeah.
father wasn't perfect. He struggled with alcoholism. He struggled with drugs, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But the one thing my father had was a heart of he had a heart for people. Like if anybody needed anything from him, he would give it to him. I remember he used to
Mhm.
hand out money to the kids in my community. Like just he would give us money, and then our friends would be around, and he would give them money too, and I'd be like, "For real, Dad?" Like, you could
Being generous.
Yeah.
because my father taught me the reason why my family and my brothers and sisters like my father, we used to be stingy, and sometimes he can come back here, but I remember my father voice. He's like, y'all need to share. Like my father taught us how to share. That's the one thing, the lesson that my father taught us how to share.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, because he didn't like that stingy mentality. Like my father taught us how to share. And there's a scene
Yeah.
in my film when you see it that that speaks to that. Like my father would tell us to share with each other. He taught us how to be generous. He taught us, like don't feel like you're above anybody, people,
Mhm.
like because even when he was struggling, he would still help some like he would still help other people.
Mhm.
My father wasn't the pursuit of happiness father. And I always say
Right.
he wasn't the pursuit of happiness father. He didn't come from rags to he wasn't your typical American story where you start broke and then you get rich. No, no, he was the same, like the same way, except to me, he was my hero.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
He
because he was just consistent anytime I needed something for
Mhm.
school, for anything, my father would get it. He would find a way to get it. And then when I got older, I'm like, dang, Dad, like,
How'd you do it?
how did you do it? Like,
Mhm.
it's like 7 of us. Like, it was like my mother had 8 kids. And so like he would some of them wasn't even his, like, but he would still
Yeah.
like give them the same, he would show up for them.
Mhm. Mhm.
I just find and for a father to do that, in these days, for a father to do that, that's big. Because
Yeah.
if that was me, I'm like, "They ain't my kid," you know? Ain't
Uh,
carrying nobody else's kid.
yeah.
But my father did it, so and I just I look up to that. When I look back, I see my father's heart, and that's why he deserved to be talked about. He deserved he deserved the story. He deserved for me to continue on his legacy and for me to continue to talk about him so other people can know who my father is. And
Mhm.
like and so like there's a moment when we were burying my father that his casket wouldn't close.
Mm.
Oh.
It wouldn't close. My father's casket would they tried to close it at the end. And I thought it might have been a malfunction or something, but it felt
Mhm.
like he was trying to live. Like it felt like he was trying to live. And
Mhm.
and they had to like take his casket back to it and do what they need to do to fully close it. But my father casket wouldn't close at the end. And for
Wow.
that's a sign from God a sign from my father that like keep talking, keep tell,
Yeah.
or speak, you know, and
You
I'm
took
going.
that as the confirmation.
That's the confirmation, Wesley. That's the
Mm,
confirmation.
Wow.
And that's
mm.
why I have a fire when I talk about my father. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't nobody
Yeah,
tell me nothing. I'm going to sing about my father. I'm going to sing about my heavenly father.
yeah.
Mhm.
Just hearing you right now, that's that God confidence right now
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charles, it's amazing how your dad, as imperfect as we all are, your dad showed a lot of the attributes of the fruits of the spirit.
Mm,
And it's not like he was coming from a place where he had abundance of everything, but he displayed it better than people who've been walking with Christ for years.
mm, yeah,
Giving the little that you have and putting other people's uh, immediate needs before his own, like that's just that's incredible.
mm. And Torres, I want to go back to when you were talking about your mentor.
David Talbot.
Yeah, because I remember there was a time where you told us before how like there would be times when he would talk to you in a way where you didn't really like it, because he
Mhm.
was probably giving you that tough love and
Mhm.
being like strict to you and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And so just hearing you talk about him, of how like you're grateful for him, like like that just shows that he did all that because of the potential he saw in the film, of how great it can be. And so he was just pushing you to like do better with it, so that way it can be where like he knows it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even what he saw in you, like what he saw in the film was great, but what he saw in you, could you imagine having a great film and you being a horrible person to work with? The film's going nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's go ahead.
I believe in the power of mentorship, man.
Mhm.
Mm,
If it wasn't for my first mentor, David Roberts, who did the same thing David Talbot did to me, but in my high school days, he drilled into me. Um,
mm,
Mhm.
mm.
and so like, and I used to be like, I used to be tear, I used to be in tear, how you like, like I used to be like, yo, was my father.
Yeah,
But when I look back at it, I'm like, that man believed in me,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Roberts paid my rent when I was struggling in high school,
Wow.
Mm,
God used them to pour into me. And the same with David Talbot. When I was going through the emotions around this film and life, David Talbot invited me to his backyard and said, "Go swim. Move this
wow.
rock from here to there." I was like, "But why am I moving it from here? Just move it from here to there."
Karate Kid.
It felt like God was using.
Using people around you, but also he's using
Yeah,
people
man,
to speak his
I'm
words.
gardening with David Talbot in the backyard.
That's funny. Charles, you said this about David Talbot before. You said that he told you how you have to represent.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm thinking to myself, that sounds like something God tells us all the time.
yeah,
Mm,
Like, you're not out there just as a filmmaker. You're out there as a person in faith, believe in God and walk with him as much as you can,
yeah.
wherever you can. And every time I see you on stage, showcasing your film, or when I hear you talk about it, the conversation always wheels around just what he's been able to do. And you never take it on in such a way where your ego rises above God.
Oh no.
You always keep yourself in check with that. And it's such a beautiful thing to see. That's a consistency of how your dad was from what you were telling us. So
Yeah.
mm, mm.
that's
Before
awesome.
I said I don't want to forget. I don't
Yeah.
you'll forget our our sinful human bodies will forget,
Yeah,
Yep.
and the ego will rise. You would think and I don't ever want to feel that way. So
yeah,
I have to include God so I can humble myself and say like, yeah, George, just remember who was there, remember your
right.
mentors. That's why I thank God, I thank my mentors, I thank my family.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And because not only is it my story, it's my family's story too. And so I'm able,
True.
like my brother said, like the film is able to heal them as well. They're able to feel seen. and I want my mentors to know that I appreciate what they did, and I want God to know that I appreciate his voice, which God don't just speak, like right. You got to be really in tune. He
Mhm.
speaks through the Bible, but when you
Yeah.
can hear something from God, like that's a like I believe it's a miracle. I got a couple labels for it, like miracle and honor, everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
When you get because you can then take that word from God and use it in any season of your life, and that can get you through. And what God told me got me through the tough season of losing my father.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's such a beautiful story. I'm so glad you came back to the show and shared that.
Yeah.
The events of your life are the events of your life, but to be able to share your testimony to people,
Yep.
it becomes our testimony as well.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad to know that the amount of things that you've gone through that you let us know, and you're still here to be able to talk about God's goodness.
Yeah.
It's just a proof of just how you've grown from the
Yeah.
time that we've known you. And I mean, your growth helps me to grow as well because I'm very imperfect.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I appreciate you being this vulnerable because it helps me to be vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy he said at the theater, he said, "Towards your faith got you here."
Yeah.
And I feel like if I were to point to where I've grown, it would be my faith because I didn't have faith in my story back in the day. I didn't have faith. Like
Yeah.
I felt like I would do things just for the notoriety, or I wanted to be something. I wanted to make something of myself. But this is a story that you hold close. Like I tell this also. Like my college professor told me, the stories you're running from. His name is MK Asante. The stories
Hmm.
you're running from are the stories you should be telling.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
That's
I was
good.
running from that story.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But when God, it connected. When God spoke, it connected to that and connected to other things that was in line to produce what we produce, and how I was able to walk in faith, it increased my faith because I was connecting the dots,
Yeah.
and in that fire that God lit in me, it
Mhm.
grew my faith. It was like because when you have faith, because faith is like you don't know what's gonna happen.
Nope. That's the point
Mhm.
of it. That's
That's
the whole
the
point of it.
thing. It's like jumping to this abyss,
Yep.
Yeah.
just jump
Faith is the unknown.
jump into the unknown,
Yeah.
and we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
But with God, you don't have to say good luck.
Yeah.
It's like, you'll deal with it.
You
Cause
have to, and there's also trust. You have to
yes,
Yeah.
it's trust. Thank you, Holy
big time.
Spirit, for
Mhm.
putting that into my mind. Like trust.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like when you jump, you're trusting God.
Mhm.
And so if I had to say anything else, because the Holy Spirit just reminded me, trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big time.
Mhm.
And I struggle with trust, like during those times, like I've been through a lot. So like I'm like my trust was like the only person I can trust is really my father. Like I'm like in my family, like trust is like, oh what? Like trust. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
and then to trust God,
Mhm.
that was another thing he taught me is trust. Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me. Trust
Yeah.
me, George. I
Mhm.
got you. Trust me. And he
Mhm.
did. He got me. And he still got me.
So does it. You're barely you're like at the start of this journey.
Mhm.
Mhm.
There's so much more to come.
Right. Yeah. Mhm.
Um, I would like to play out that song, for you. Could you give us the title of the song?
The title of the song is Pops We Won.
Pops We Wine.
It's just remembering that, it's Pops we did it, God was in it, you know?
There you
Mm.
go.
God
There
was
you
in
go.
it, like we did something special,
Yeah.
did something, it's our testimony, we did it, and I'm just thankful. Every time God does something for me, it inspires songs, inspires, like it's a way to remember. There's a reason why we have Psalms.
Yeah.
I relate to
Yeah.
David in the Bible, who penned so many psalms during his rough times. He penned a song when he was happy. He penned a song when he was, you
When
know,
he's sad, when he was
through.
tormented. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, he just penned the songs,
Mhm.
and
that's so true.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it
Mhm.
got him through because he was able to remember himself and remember who was there for him. He was able to speak to God. I feel like I'm speaking to God when I'm doing music, when I'm telling my testimony through song.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like my mentor said it sounds like a prayer, you know,
Right.
because it is,
Mhm.
my prayer is different. I pull out the beat and I be like, God help me.
You're at peace when you're making music.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
because it's
good.
a way to remember too.
Yeah.
It
It's a
is.
record. I can look back at all the songs and I'll listen to it and I say, "Oh, dang, I remember what I was feeling here. I remember when I said this and God, helped me through this situation." Like I
Mhm.
wrote a quick story. I wrote this song called because I had a dream about my father and my father was smiling in my dream. And I was like, why is he smiling? Because I was going through it. I was like, why is he smiling? Why is my father smiling right this
Mhm.
moment? You know how I'm feeling, Pops. Why are you smiling?
Mhm.
And then afterwards, things just started falling into place. And then I was like, oh, my father, he knew something. They knew something.
Yeah. They knew
That was
what
a
was to
lesson.
come.
Yeah. And everything just started falling into place. So that just reminds me that I got people behind me spiritually. God is behind me and he's walking with me and we gonna walk together. I'm me, my father, God, like we gonna walk ourselves right where God need us to be, you know. And I'm ready for the journey. So
That's
look out for
awesome.
senior. Look out for senior. It's gonna be a movie that's real. If
Yes.
you want to see an authentic film about just authentic, we don't cut corners in this film.
Yeah.
We tell the truth and we want to inspire and we hope this film speaks and we hope this film goes into the community if when it reaches the communities that no one goes to or no one points a lens to. We hope that this movie reaches them and they're able to see my story and my father's story and say, dang, they see me, God sees me, you know
Yeah.
as we get our job.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again for showing up with us and sharing everything you shared.
Mhm.
Folks, I hope you come back to join us on Baptized and Clueless. Enjoy this outro by Toroes. Again with the title, Toroes,
Pops, we won.
Perhaps we
Pops We
won.
Wine. Amen. All right, everyone. Thank you again for your time.
Pen to the paper, now my paint on screen. Dedicated dreams. Boss, I know you proud of me. The legacy is strong. I make waves and they follow me. I'm building like a bomb. I explode for His glory. That's why I tell my story. And Lord, you've been with me. You know it all before me. Don't ever let that doubt erase your pace. Stay locked in till you put yourself in place. Till you put yourself in place. Story now they feel it. Cause we did it. Cause they feel it. Cause we did it. Cause we did it. The Lord was in it. Let the world hear our story now they feel it. Cause we did it. Now they feel it. Cause we did it. Pops, you know we did it. I knew we get a win. A smile in the ear. A joy that never ends. You been in my dreams. You always writing scenes. I wish that you was here, but I see you in my mirror looking back at me. Junior gon' keep going till he reach the throne naturally. And every step I take, I'm just getting close to destiny. Praying by these ways while the current turn my legacy. was guiding me.